And the crowd goes wild. Tarrant took the corners and really fast and took some damages but increased his popularity. That's basically is the game in Dirt and Dust. We are going to do a review, so we're going to give you a quick overview and what we think of it. And hi everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant here. Welcome to Meeple University.
We are getting ready for Gen Con. A few more days till, well, I leave Australia to go to America. Gen Con is still a few days away. Depends on when I am releasing this, but this is going to be available, I think, to be demoed or limited copies available at Gen Con.
Yes, so this is it's a rally car themed deck building game, and we'll get into how this works. It's quite a puzzly little deck builder.
Very puzzly. It mainly plays multiplayer solitaire. I would say that only one little mechanics that is multiplayer, like interactive. So just a bit of warning, if you don't mind that, you might like it. If you don't, you might not, but we'll see. It's quite intense at some point. Let's hear the overview, Tarrant.
So this is what you'll have in the game. This is the central board. This is the deck building market of cards that you can build. And this is what an individual player is going to have. These cards represent the race. So you can see they're all these corners, and there's 10 of them in the race. And as in rally car racing, it's not just about going out and driving and taking corners. You'll have a navigator with you and a team supporting you who is mapping out these corners ahead of time. And that is how rally car racing kind of works.
And these are the cards indicating the rounds. So they will slide down as you go through the rounds. They are 10 rounds.
Yes. The aim is to gain speed points, which is the flag. And you get some of them from, or lose some of them, from certain cards and things. But most of them come from taking these corners. There's 3 main resources in the game. There's the wrenches or spanners. Those are largely used for buying cards and adjusting dice, because you'll see here there's dice. It's a dice card interplay. There's traction, represented by the wheel. This lets you manage your car on this grid, which is another element to what you're trying to puzzle out, as well as taking corners. So a big part of the game is about gaining traction to take corners. And then there's popularity and damage. So popularity, as you get some of it, it can score you points, it can give you extra dice, but what earns you popularity is mostly doing dangerous stuff, and that's very thematic to rally car racing. Mm-hmm. But doing dangerous stuff is going to break your car and cause you things that will wear on your car as the game goes on. So you have to take all of that into account as you play the game.
Very thematically correct as well, because Tarrant at one game was driving dangerously and in braking lots of things. You can't really bring it back when it's broken.
Yeah, it made for a tough final few rounds, but still a close game, because I got a lot of early corners in, but then just couldn't manage it at the end. Anyway, that's kind of thematically what's going on. Now, what a round looks like, you'll have your hand of 5 cards. So you've drawn your cards, deck building style, and you roll your dice, and you have this grid in front of you with 6 slots. You can play any of these cards into any of these slots that you want, including ones that don't have dice, and then ultimately you'll activate a card by spending the die. So let's take an example here. Suppose I slide this die down to here, I've spent it, I'd resolve the effect on the left and on the right in either order. The effect on the left will always happen, or at least always possibly happen. And in this case, it's letting me gain another die, a boost die. That's pretty cool. The effect on the right has 2 halves, and it depends on where your car is on this grid. This is another element to the game. You've got the accelerating half of your grid and the decelerating half of your grid. And this right-hand side will do different things based on where you are on that grid. Here I'm accelerating, there's no effect, so nothing would happen with that second half of the die. If I played this tightening screws, it would let me, I'm accelerating, so I would gain 1 traction, and it lets me discard 1 card from the grid. And this is an interesting puzzly element of the game. These cards stay here either until they slide off your board, and they only move 1 slot per turn, or until you take an effect which discards it. So this card here, Engine Tuning, its main effect resolves when I put a 6 over it. It's not going to be in the 6th slot anymore after the first turn, so why do I want it on my grid anymore? I need to use an effect to discard it to keep my grid fresh with useful cards, to get this back cycling through.
And this is not this is not the most useful either anyway.
Yes, not when I'm
You can
accelerating.
I mean, you can activate this area, but you can't activate this one, which is probably the best in this card.
Indeed. Some of these cards also have, they're called passive effects, or they're effects that you can do at once per round at any time, regardless of where they are. So they don't cost a die. And for this case, this is one of the 4 characters, I can purchase a card that is cost 1 or 2 and put it on top of my deck. Then other than that, you can spend wrenches to buy cards, put them in your discard pile. That's the more standard deck building. But the thing you're really trying to do is get navigation tokens on corners. And this pays back in 2 parts. So let's pretend I've got 3 traction at the moment. I can choose any corner. Right now I'm planning ahead to a corner. And let's say I'm planning ahead to this corner. This has a cost of 3. So I would spend my 3 traction and I would plan ahead and I would resolve what's on the card, which is my car slides 1 step to the left and I gain some damage. And I gain this damage die into my pool. I roll it. It gave me 3 hits and a popularity.
People like to see you do dangerous stunts, and yay! Well, it's only 1 popularity.
Yes. But it helps. As I say, popularity, whoever has the most each round gets an extra die, so an extra action. You go through all of that process, and then at the end of each round, these cards will slide down, and if you have a navigation token on that card, that's when you score points for it. And this is where most of your points come from. And the points you score are based on where your car is on this grid. So right now I'm on slot 2. So if I'd had a navigation token on here instead and it had slid off, I would gain 2 points. And that's the core of the game. You're trying to map the cards out at the time that makes the most sense. But then at the ends of rounds where you are about to score, you want to try to get your car onto a higher scoring slot on your own grid. And it's hard to navigate when you're accelerating. When you're decelerating, you see these split into more slots and you can spend traction to voluntarily move around, which again is quite thematic. You're braking, you can control the car more.
So you can see a lot of these are your own puzzle, and you do it simultaneously. All players do it simultaneously on their board for, when they wanting to put the cards on their player board and then assigning the dice, activating whatever you want. And this is the only one, this is the popularity track that you put your fire, your indicator in there, and then the player who's got the most popularity get a popularity die, and they can do extra stuff with it and points at the end of the game.
We also alluded to damage before. So as you gain these damage dice, you are going to re-roll the hazard dice is what they're called. You're going to re-roll all of those each round and gain more hits. And every time you max out this track, you're going to turn one of these permanent damage tokens over and reset, or your next one resets it. And you can take actions that are going to give you these dice, and they're going to give you more traction. But until you repair them, and there are some actions to repair them, which of course cost you popularity. No one wants to see you fix your car. You can start to gain these damages really badly. And they start to impact. Like this one, your car is going to slide 1 extra space every time you navigate a corner. This one, all the cards are going to cost 1 more wrench. This is the one where it starts to be a turning point. Your hand size goes down to 3. I really found getting that too early is pretty restrictive.
Disaster.
And it gets eventually to the point if you do 8 damage, you're out. Your car explodes.
You can't win. That's it. Done. You're done. See, just let focus in one of these things, which the dice that Tarrant rolls. Can you imagine me playing dice roll games against Tarrant? I want to be in his team if he roll perfect 6 every time. This is not the first time either.
Yeah, if I rolled this in some games, I would,
Depends what game.
lose points probably.
But if
Triples
it's
are bad.
on the games that you need higher dice roll, you would roll high. On the games you need lower dice roll, you would roll low. So, thanks, Aaron. Do you have anyone that's like that? Let us know in the comments. Even if it's yourself, you always roll like one of the best possible rolls. Or it's your partner, you'd be like, that's okay. I still enjoy playing with you, Tarrant.
Yes.
So you can see, as I alluded earlier, this is a lot of these mechanic is very solitaire and there's not a lot of interaction. You basically just focus on your own puzzle and trying to get the points. And this is probably one of the first racing game that has got this like high level of puzzle. The other racing games, like I do like racing theme game, although it's more like all games technically it's a racing game, like race the points
Race
to the
to
top.
the most points.
Yeah, so
Race to kill everyone else.
yeah,
Race to
something.
checkmate the king.
What's that?
Chess.
Oh, okay, yeah, there you go. So race and race, but this is race theme game, as Tarrant say, with deck building and the dice roll. So the dice roll it's not too bad. You can mitigate that by spending a wrench resource to go higher and lower ones, and it's just something that really puzzly, and you need to kind of like plan ahead a lot of steps ahead of time. Your cards will be slide down, roughly what cards you have, but then it depends on what you draw. So some are deterministic, but some is kind of like random.
Yeah, I think for me, I think you watch enough of my reviews, everyone knows I like to have a bit of interaction. So I'm not going to dwell on that fact. This is clearly designed as a very solo puzzly game, and so I'll review it in that context. This is a really sharp puzzle, and there's so many moving parts to it that really do click together quite well. I think it's very well designed in that way. I've never seen so many things put together like this in a deck building style, where you've got to match up dice and slots and the need to discard to make space for other cards, the sorts of options you can get here, and then also managing this grid on top of it. I think that's a really sharp puzzle, and the way you balance off the risk with these hazard dice makes for interesting choices and tight conclusions. And so that the game where we played, where it was quite odd because you were playing the character who can ignore hazard dice
But I'm not
as her
playing,
special power,
but
but
I'm
you
not
were
playing
staying
risky.
without
Yeah,
hazard.
I know.
Whereas I went really hard and did a whole lot of damage to my car very early and had to be very conservative towards the end. And you could see that you were, gradually catching up to me, because by the end I got this one where I wasn't able to carry over unspent resources to the next round, and that really started to hurt. But yeah, I like the way that both creates tension, creates a little bit of the uncertainty that you expect from a racing game, and lets you balance off risk versus reward in a thematic and interesting way. So yeah, that is really well put together.
Yeah. What happened at that one other time where you were so popular, but it does not guarantee winning?
Yeah, well, the popularity is an interesting element as well, potentially giving you the extra dice, costs for actions as well. You do have to put some effort into gaining popularity. It doesn't flow. It comes gradually if you've got hazard dice, and if you take a really sharp corner, you can see on here, I hadn't alluded before, if your car is here when you take a corner, you get points. If you take it super sharp, you get no points, but you get a whole lot of popularity.
Yeah.
And that really sets you up to take popularity actions for the next few rounds. And that's a decision that you need to come to and make as well.
Yeah, I feel like it is quite balanced for the strategies that we've been taking. So points is quite hard to get. And at the end, the point is not too different from winners and losers. I wouldn't say losers. All winners.
That's true. It feels... The game, I think, is generally going to stay relatively tight. It doesn't have big explosive points because anytime you take a corner, you're still only getting between 2 and 4 points depending on where you land your car. So it's more about getting more corners, using wrenches to buy point scoring cards and things. So it is a gradual accumulation, which again, maybe it's not what you're expecting as you play, but it kind of fits thematically with a car racing time trial because you're always just trying to get that little bit around the corner.
And resources, the same thing as well. As you say, points are little by little. Resources also little by little. There's no explosive resource that you can get. You get a little bit of here, a little bit of there. That's basically what you need. And the main thing why you need to roll or gain the hazard die is because you need to gain more of this traction. And you can just like roll it and then gain 2 for free because you need to fulfill and you need to pay the cost of this. But there are other things as well in the card. You can see that there's not a lot there. There's like 2 here, 1 here, and everywhere. Everything is very tight.
Yes. I think there's probably 2 negatives I would say about the game, or 2 challenges if you're coming in to play it. The first is there's a lot, it's not super intuitive, particularly in terms of how you can plan a corner and get part of the effect and then actually take the corner and get points at a completely different time and with your car in a completely different place. That it's a nice bit of puzzle, but it's hard to convey. And flowing onto that, a lot of the cards are all in icons. It's a very icon heavy game. And I remember learning this and trying to figure out, all right, are we going to play this, the 2 of us mostly, or are we going to play it with 4 people, have a much larger game?
Because of the nature of it, then we decided just play 2-player game because it, multiplayer solitaire. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And
or maybe it does. I don't know. We wouldn't know.
Yeah, I worried about the rules load and icon load to teach this to more and more players. So there's a bit of a learning curve, I think is what I'm saying there. Just an entry-level learning curve. The other thing which I think is a challenge when playing the game is if you're really trying to optimize what you're doing, it's very difficult to undo and try again when you see a better option because you're moving dice down, discarding cards, moving dials, moving cars all over the place. It's kind of even though you're working solo, once you've committed to something, it's pretty tricky to undo that knowing you've undone it correctly. And you could play that thematically. You're like, all right, we're in the cut and thrust of a rally car race. Your decisions are final. You've got to make split-second decisions. But if you're playing a solo puzzle game, of course, no one who plays this level of solo puzzle game wants that.
Yeah.
They want to optimize it out, and it is tricky. Other than that, there's good variety in the game. There's 4 starting drivers, each with their own sorts of rules. There's 5 different race tracks. There's there's 9 cards in each market, numbered 1 through 9, but you've got an A and a B choice for each. So a whole lot of different combinations there. So it will give you lots of different experiences and ways to play the game. Plus, of course, there's all the random elements of the dice and the cards every time. So you're always going to have a new puzzle, new experience.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind multiplayer solitaire, so I find it interesting and it's challenging in a good way. In terms of intuitive, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like it is intuitive, but also it is a little bit challenging perhaps to explain at the start, but I think you've done it well with maybe some extra questions because I'm not familiar with the new mechanics. Obviously, who would? I mean, you might, not me. that is a bit of a challenge to get my head into. Okay, what? And you do this. Like, how does this work? This is probably the main challenge. Like, but you explained it well. Very unique. It's like, what? You can... Oh, this is basically how you gain points. If you don't have your tokens here and you don't score that round, doesn't matter where you are on your player board. Just have to like, okay, yeah, that's... Once that's... I get it, then the rest is fine. So the question is, did it inspire you to be a rally driver? Probably not. I would be surprised it would. Did it, Tarrant?
I think I'm happy to be a rally car driver from my table without the risk of fiery death and rollover.
I was hoping that at that game, because you were so close to death, like, oh, come on, Tarrant, just like roll bad.
I had to take no risk.
Yeah.
And that was where it came to that comment I made. There's no big explosive points right at the end, so it just wasn't worth it to me to take the risk. I was going to most likely get one extra point at the risk of losing all of my points.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is Dirt and Dust. What do you think? Just let us on the comment. Is this something that you have played? Is something that you would be interested in play? Check it out, Gen Con, or maybe Essen, and hopefully we'll see you at I'll see you at Gen Con. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.